I think they're a little cheaper now. They were like a kind of pretty expensive when they first came out because they were limited, but I think you can get them for a reasonable price now.
We're on live right now. We're talking about
here we go.
JT's basement. Some of you guys saw a video I put out last week when I stayed over at JT's house for a draft and for it was an IDP. My original walk-in IDP. It was kind of crazy, but I took a little video out of JT's basement. He had a shuffleboard. I smoked him in darts. He challenged me to darts and he got waxed 2 games in a row. So
that's right. He did smoke me.
And then we were on a basement. He beat me in Papa Shot like 120 to 18. So that wasn't even close to a game. But JT's house is absolutely fantastic. It was nice being out there for the brewery to do a live show on Fantasy and Frames. We have a new guest today. Is me. And well, first of all, JT, since you're always part of the crew, tell me all about what's going on here. What do you got going on?
Just finishing up some stories. Just finishing up for DLF my final rankings for rookie running backs that are coming out, and then I've got a story of a lot of people have been asking about IDP rookie combined rankings, and so I've got that coming out here soon as well. So check out that this week.
Oh, look at that! See. What are you drinking there, Tim?
Just cold brew. Shout out to cold brew. Shout out to giving me a lot of energy so we could talk trades. Speaking of trades, John's so damn active. He makes a trade as we started this thing up. So shout out to John.
Timmy, where can everybody find you at? Tell me about all the wonderful places we can find the Mouth Podcast.
Yeah, so anywhere you get the podcast, anywhere you can get a podcast, the Mouth. It's called The Mouth. I haven't updated as much. I'm not like you guys being, a little bit more frequent. I am coaching my son's baseball team. So that's, my laziness there. But the Tim George on Instagram, I normally do sports videos, funny stuff there. I'm just pretty snippets. Probably should get on TikTok just because I like to do little quick content. But, yeah, outside of that, always talking fantasy sports, not very active on Twitter besides watching these two gentlemen dominate with content and Nick. So I like that. So
let's see the jersey you got.
Yes, it's not a jersey. My buddy sent this over to me. It's a shirt, Caleb Williams, 18. Because, if you don't know, you will know. Times are changing out here. Maybe not next year, but the year after, I think the Bears should be pretty good contenders.
Nick
at least for the NFC.
I was just Nick put something out this morning about Caleb Williams, and I had said something like he reminds me of Joakim Noah. Remember when Joakim Noah came in the league for the Bulls and he was like a big baby, he's hugging his mom all the time, and he was doing the same stuff with just like he has a lot of Caleb Williams vibes. And Nick's like, you don't like Caleb Williams either? You didn't like Justin Fields? I'm like, time out. No, Joakim Noah came in the league as kind of a babyish kind of figure, like mama's boy, and that dude had a heart of a lion, man. That dude he played intense all the time, had a motor that never stopped. If Caleb Williams is 3/4 of Joakim Noah, Caleb Williams might be one of my favorite Bears of all time as far as that goes. So I'm hoping that he is something like Joakim Noah, because Noah was just a pleasure to watch on a basketball court for the Bulls. So you just somebody, my kind of player, man, that just didn't take shit from nobody, didn't take shit from LeBron all the way down to whoever, across the board. So
yeah, one thing to add right there is I think it's funny in our culture is that we when these kids are getting drafted, we bang them up if they come from a broken childhood. Then we bust their balls if they have a good relationship with their parents. It's whatever narrative people want to get, but I think it's probably better to have good relationships with your parents, have a strong mother and father, I would imagine. Just coming from a guy that's probably had a unique childhood. So I always just think it's kind of funny. I mean, I think it's cool that he has a great relationship with his mother. I think people should probably do a little research. I think he's going to – listen, we're setting him up for success. So he's going to have, the foundation laid. I think that Ryan Poles has set him up there. But I know today we're talking about some trades. JT's probably trying to burn a trade right now.
I'm checking on him. I'm looking at some of the things that have come through lately. Gotta make sure I don't want them to expire. Every once in a while, I get one and I realize John sent it to me. It's already expired because I didn't look at it fast enough.
Pat Fitzmaurice just said, I feel like he just texted me. I feel like I'm picking through your garbage cans because I made another trade this morning from Pat. Of course, I send garbage and he sends me garbage. It's that's like most of my trades anyway. But we'll get through that one too. Another one to add. So now instead of 35, we got 36 trades to go through. So anyway, what's new in NFL this week? What happened? What did I miss? Any big news that we missed across the board here? There's a couple signings, but nothing crazy.
Nothing too nuts. The schedule is supposed to get released tonight. So 8 o'clock, I think it is when it's supposed to be coming out. I know there's been some leaks on the schedule, so that's going to be interesting. John, I was going to say, too, on the Stu with JT Brew, you're going to jump on there with me. We're going to do our NFL breakdown of the schedule like we did last year and kind of give everybody our initial thoughts on the schedule and what's, what we think everybody's going to finish, what the record's going to be. We were pretty close on most of them last year. I went back and went through them all at the end of the season, and we actually were not too far off on most teams.
I was 100%. I got everything right. the whole schedule.
That's right.
That's right. See, yeah, yes. All right. So trades. A handful of people have trades out there. They go off DLF's trade finder, things like that, punching people's names. These are actual trades that went down in my Mighty McGlynn Dynasty home leagues. These are leagues that all these guys, like these two gentlemen on the screen with me, are part of. There's 6 leagues now. So out of the 6 leagues, I just grabbed the hand. I went through and kind of skimmed through all the trades that had gone down. So what we'll do is we'll talk. We'll tell the trades. We'll discuss them here, and then we'll have these two gentlemen kind of go back and forth, and I'll be the mediator if they're both on the same side or they both pick different sides or whatever the deal may be. I'll throw in my 2 cents also. A handful of trades are the good trades in here are somebody else's. All the shit trades are mine. So just so everybody knows, you're like, who the hell would trade for that garbage? That's me. That's me. So just so you know, I should declare these John McGlynn trades before I say them, but I'll let you guess which ones are mine. So we'll start here with. First of all, let's the context here is these are 12-team, 30-man rosters. Okay, it's super flex, it's tight end premium, it's 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, 2 flex spots, and a super flex spots. It's 5 points for touchdown pass, 2 points for interception. It's just for simplicity, we'll say full PPR. And tight end premium 0.75. Okay, that's there's a couple ones that are 0.75 and 0.5 receptions for wide receivers in a couple different leagues, but it's not that it makes that big of a difference for 0.25 of a point. So everything else is pretty much a lot of the same scoring. And there's bonuses for 100-yard games, 200-yard games, 300-yard passing, 400-yard passing, which Sleeper would change that to you can get – have a 500-yard game so I can give more points out to people. They only have 300- and 400-yard games. 500 yards passing games do happen, so I'm not sure why it's not part of the scoring option. I understand not having a 600-yard or 800-yard, but why would you have a 500-yard passing game as a bonus? It doesn't really make too much sense to me. I mean, people are complaining about having 200-point scoring, 200-yard scoring for rushing and receiving, and it happens once in a while. A couple times a season it happens. It doesn't happen that often, but you should be rewarded when players do things on the field like that. And I wish that Sleeper would do tiered scoring also, where instead of if you get 99 yards, you don't get 0, you get 5.9 instead of 6. Or if you have 50 yards, you get 3 yards instead of 6, so that you get rewarded for what you do. It's not just as soon as you hit that 100-yard bonus and fall in the end zone, you get that 6 points. But it is what it is. We have to play with the cards we are dealt with. So this is what we do. We are going to evaluate the trades here. So the first one is Chris Godwin, DeAndre Swift, and KJ Hamler for Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs. Now, we're not really sure about Darren Waller's future here. He's still contemplating retirement. When people contemplate retirement a lot, it doesn't really bode well for their future. I know he was complaining, but his big thing is his pity party was about getting a new quarterback or getting a new, he had a handful of reasons why he was talking about quitting. But I think half it's injury related, the other half being a baby. Irregardless of so, JT, I'm going to let you start with this one. Chris Godwin, DeAndre Swift, KJ Hamler for Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs. Now, these trades also, they're in a vacuum. We don't know what the team makeup is. I'm not going to pull up every team and kind of say, well, this guy really needed a quarterback or he really needed a running back. We're just going to kind of say, how do you think this worked out? And a lot of times you can tell right from the get-go if it's a win-now team or if it's a, sell the house some trades are pretty even, though you can tell guys are contending teams in the middle somewhere, just trying to fill needs. So JT, you start out with this trade. Give me your evaluation.
Yeah, on this one, I'm going to take the Godwin Swift side. I really wish KJ Hamler would have done something. I have him on so many teams. I finally dropped him this last offseason, but I hope he can still make it back. I mean, the guy's still only 24 years old, which is pretty amazing. Seems like he's been in the league forever, but he's had injury problems, but he's kind of just a throw in here. Yeah, I like Swift and Godwin over Jacobs, Waller. Even if Waller stays, he's just been banged up the last couple years. I know you hate to get in these guys' personal lives, but Waller also going through a divorce. I think that has a lot to do with the possible retirement and things that probably been going on with him. So be interested to see if he just changes his mind once that all goes through. Jacobs on the Packers. I could see that being good, but I also was Marshawn Lloyd there. I could see them dumping him after a year. So I'm going to go Godwin Swift side for me here.
So that brings us to Tim George's evaluation of this trade. He may or may not have been involved in this trade. So before I put that out, that context out there, Tim George, what do you think about this trade?
I mean, I don't even think it's close, to be very honest with you. I mean, people are saying Tim made the trade, but I mean, really, just break it down like this. Like, here's what I would say: is Waller is a non-factor. Anytime in life, general, you aren't all in, you're not in at all. That's what I tell people. So Waller, I feel bad. The guy's had, a tough. He's got a good story, and he's got a lot of personal stuff. That is a factor. So him being, as far as getting rid of him, get rid of him when you have any value associated. Right? Sell him as high as you can because he's really like worth nothing. They also can cut him, right? They could save $7.5 million. The Giants can if they cut him in the next 2 weeks. So that's something to keep in mind. Also, Mr. Jacobs, he's been in the league. I think he's been in the league, 6-7 years. He's had 1,300 carries, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right? So the gentleman has a lot of 1,300 carries. 1,305. Shout out to my brain. So I just think a lot of wear and tear. I think he is a good back, for sure. But when you got a guy coming off Chris Godwin off 3 years of 1,000 yards, the one downside on Godwin, which if he ever gets double-digit touchdowns, he's going to be a top 5 receiver, fantasy-wise. And I know that's a lot. You got to get it because he always gets. He's like one of those guys that gets 2-3 touchdowns. Right? I think the most he's ever had is 5 or something. So, and then you get Swift on the top of it, right? In an offense with a lot of weapons that is going to be in the red zone a lot. Going to be with a rookie quarterback, and we know about rookie quarterbacks. They do a lot of drop offs, right? So if you watched a lot of Caleb Williams, as much as he did the try to make the long touchdown, he also actually made the smart play. I think when you got a 3 wide receiver set, which Shane Walden did not use a lot, but say hypothetically he does use that this year, you're going to have a mismatch with Swift coming out of the backfield. I like that. He is a guy that can break off a 60-yard play. I hope he does that a few times. And I also believe in more assets than not, right? Handler, same thing, JT. It's a flyer. Before the draft, hey, can we get lucky? Can this guy make a few plays? Can he be something that I could trade for a 3rd-round pick eventually, right? So that guy was a throw-in, right? Pray he stays healthy and can hit his upside. But I mean, I just got 2 for 1, right? My team, I know you don't want to talk about the team, but you get 2 for 1 players. That's how I look at it. I feel like Waller doesn't play. If he's stuck on my team, and it's just a cut. So at least I'm able to sell him high. So that was what I thought about the trade.
Roster spots are very important also. People don't take that into account as much as you should. Sometimes I make these 6 for 1 or 8 for 1 or whatever it is. My philosophy on that sometimes is you never know who's going to get hurt in the offseason. I don't care. I have my entire roster filled up, and then I fill up my entire, no matter what, I fill up my entire IR spots with 10 IR spots, much as I can. So I have 40 players in my roster when you fill up your IR spots. I do that every year on purpose. So in the offseason, just in case somebody gets traded, just in case something happens, like Michael Gallup just got let go from the Cowboys. He may or may not have an opportunity, but it is what it is. It's something that he could find himself in a situation where he gets some targets, but if he doesn't, then I cut him. It's not a big deal, but Michael Gallup's still a pretty good player in my opinion. So I feel like I feel like having all those spots filled up is important, but when you have to cut down to 30, sometimes getting rid of 3 or 4 spots in a trade is also a humongous asset. If you can get rid of 4 of the guys you didn't even want on your team, and it's even for fab dollars, which some of these trades we'll talk about later, is fab involved, or if you can get a 26th, 5th or something like that for 4 or 5 roster spots, who cares? You're getting some kind of equity like Tim had talked about. So I'm all about trading for whatever you can trade for. I'm like a gypsy. I'm like a market. I'm in the wrong business, I guess. I should have been a day trader or something. But that's all I do is trade for anything. Just try to get something. Boost your stock, boost your value, boost your teams, anything. Brian Farrell here is on. He says all the shit trades. Brian won back-to-back in one of my the Brainiacs League, which is named after James Catullus, who passed away. He's one of our league mates. The league name will never change. The Brainiacs. So Brian's pretty good at trading, but he gets what he wants. He's one of those guys. He asks for the moon all the time, and then somewhere in the middle, what'll happen is you'll end up giving up more than you wanted to give up anyway, and he still won the trade. But when he first sends these offers, it's like Patrick Mahomes for 4 seconds. It's like, I don't think so, dude. It's not going to happen. Like, I don't want your 2 seconds and 3/3 in 2097. So. But he does send some pretty crazy offers, but he usually gets what he wants. That's why he's won back-to-back championships in the Brainiacs League. He's pretty good as far as that goes. Go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, no, I was just letting Brian know there's a new sheriff in town. I already ripped him off in that trade. That was trade between him. So, sorry, I apologize that the guy took over his team. He was asleep at the wheel, but Timmy's driving. Okay, Timmy's back, Brian. So, give me about a year and a half, buddy, and your repeat will not be happening on my watch. Sorry, buddy.
I love it.
It has been pretty nice having some the last owner that we had just kind of walked away from his team. He walked away from his team in 2 leagues, kind of a jerk move. But anyway, you had taken over. It's been a breath of fresh air having you in that league, Tim. And you already had a startup draft team that had won the first year, mostly because of my shit trades. You got Baker Mayfield and Rashad White as combination, and players like that, and in situations like that where you pay nothing and guys overproduce can really kind of help your situation. But to go undefeated and win the league is a feat among feats. So congratulations on that.
Yeah, it's luck too. Let's not get it twisted. Gotta have some luck. So
I wanted you to say it, not me, because I know it's luck.
It's true. Anything. I mean, I've had teams that are way more dominant and lose to a dog shit team, and I'm just like, nothing you could do. At the end of the day, you do it for fun. You do it for competition. You put yourself in the best position, and just hopefully the cards fall your way. And luckily for me, I was 16-0, so they call me Himothy now. So
Himothy.
Shout out to the new name.
Here we go. All right, the next one is Evan Ingram, Miles Sanders, and Chuba Hubbard for a 25 first. Or I'm sorry, Evan Ingram, Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard, and a 25 first for Travis Kelce, Joe Mixon, A.J. Dillon, and the 212. So, Tim, I'll let you start on this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like I know we don't want to do this, but from the surface level, I mean, it's probably premium tight end. So you're getting Ingram. I don't know if Ingram's going to be able to get as much as he did last year. Obviously, he was an outliner. He outperformed every metric he could. Sanders, I do believe in Sanders. I know no one does because of the Carolina, but the guy I think he's only 27 years old, and anyone that played on Carolina was horse manure. So, and then Hubbard, he wasn't horrible by any means. I mean, he wasn't great, but he's usable. I think he'll probably split the backfield, at least for the first month. He might be even the lead dog. The 25 first, it's obviously a coin flip. You're getting a top 12 pick, so can't be bad. The other team that traded for this with Kelsey's got 2 years left, probably a year and a half of high production. Mixon's probably got the same. I think this is a 2-year play. So you're win now mode, I would imagine. I don't know. I mean, it's a toss-up to me, to be very honest. I don't think anyone walked away with great. You're just hoping Sanders lands in the right spot. Like the right spot for me with Sanders, I traded for him this week, is can he land in Dallas, right? I know that people love Zeke, but Zeke's had a lot of wear on those tires. Can he catch little swing passes, be on turf, use that speed? He was a dog, and he's only been in the league. I think this will be his 5th year. So I know people are maybe his 6th year, but Sanders is good. I don't know. I mean, I'm curious of what you guys say. It's a coin flip. I don't think AJ Dillon. He's not it. Like, I know people want to say, but he's not. When you go out and you draft another running back, and you had the keys to the car last year and didn't know how to start it. I mean, Dillon did nothing. So obviously, you're hoping Kelsey and Mixon tear it up for you for a 1-year championship run. I think that's what the one team is. So curious what you gentlemen have to say.
JT.
Yeah, for me, I'm taking the Kelsey side on this one. Ingram just had a career year last year. I mean, I still think he's going to be good for Jacksonville, but he's going to be 30 when the season starts, and he had 114 catches last year. There is no way that he gets 114 catches again. I mean, it was desperation. They had everybody hurt. T-Law was running for his life, and so he was just dropping the ball off to Evan Ingram on every play. I mean, he only averaged, I think it was like 8 yards per reception for the season. So he had 114 catches, didn't even get 2,000 yards. I mean, it was just dump off. So that's nice for him, but I just don't think he's going to get that again. So I'm taking Kelsey over him. I'm taking Mixon over Sanders, Hubbard combined. It'll be interesting to see if Sanders has a bounce back here, either with Carolina or somewhere else. I mean, obviously they drafted Jonathan Brooks, so that hurts both Sanders and Chuba Hubbard. And then they also just signed Rashad Penny, my guy. I love Rashad Penny. So now that they got those guys, that one's tough. And I don't know what happened to Miles Sanders. I don't know if the coaches just hated him or what was going on there, but for him to go from 1,200 yards and 11 TDs with the Eagles down to 400 yards and 1 touchdown with Carolina just makes no sense. I mean, I thought he was going to just dominate there in Carolina because I figured they were going to be bad. They were going to try to run the ball as much as possible, and he just got left by the wayside. 129 carries, least in his entire career. Been in the league for 5 years already. That was the least amount he's ever had by far. So interested to see what happens with him there. Mixon, I like over those guys combined. AJ Dillon, he's a crap for me. I don't like AJ Dillon. I'd turn around if I got him in that trade and try to trade him to someone else. And then 212, I don't mind the 212, especially this year. I'm loving when I'm getting late second, early third round in drafts this year. So I like that pick, even though you have to give up the first. For me, definitely if I'm trying to win, I like Kelsey mixing there. And then I like what I can get with that 212. I can either get me a young tight end, possibly that 212. There's some nice running backs and some pretty good wide receivers also there at 212 in drafts. So I'm taking the Kelsey side here for me.
Yeah, if you're trading for Kelsey and Mixon, you're probably a win now team. And to give that away that 25 first means it's probably 20. It's going to be 25, 11, 111, 25, 112, somewhere in the upper tier. So you're not getting, like in this draft, the top 8 picks are probably considered like the top echelon, not the top tier. There's probably 2 or 3 tiers built into that first 8 picks, but you're not getting the creme de la creme players at probably 111, 112. Even if you get bounced in the first round of playoffs and you win third place, it's still a pick 110. So if you have a first and you're going for it, everybody says, do not trade your 25 first. In a situation like this where you're probably going to win a championship when you're getting Kelsey and Joe Mixon, who's going to get, he may be a rental player for 1 year, same with Kelsey, but those are league winners. Those are guys who are going to, Mixon may not be burning up the turf as far as yards are concerned, but he's going to get a lot of dump off passes, man. So to get rid of a 25 first in a situation like this is fine with me, man. It is what it is. So I'm not sure why someone who traded away Kelsey, Mixon, and would want Evan Ingram on their team, unless, like you said, I'll take Evan Ingram, and I don't even think Evan Ingram is a humongous downgrade from Travis Kelsey for a 1 year situation.
He's not a huge downgrade. I agree with you. I don't think he's a huge downgrade. I just think if you're selling Ingram, now's the time to sell him because he had just a monster year. I still think he's good next year, but I think he's going to go back to those 75, 80 catches, 600 yards. I think he's going to be more in that range. They added Brian Thomas. They added Gabe Davis, who I don't love, but Christian Kirk's going to come back. He missed a ton of time. That really was a big difference in there. And then Zay Jones was the other one who's now in Arizona. Both those guys were kind of their in-between short yardage guys. Both those guys were hurt all year, so Ingram was getting every one of those passes.
Yeah. And like you said about the Panthers, Jonathan Brooks there now. I think Miles Sanders is an afterthought. He gets traded maybe somewhere. There's a handful of people who are speculating who is going to end up in Dallas.
I mean, here's the crazy thing is just think of Miles Sanders, like Tim said, if he ends up in Dallas or say he somehow got moved to the Chargers, who everybody's pumped about, Kamani Vidal, who I like as a 6th-round pick, people are pumped about him. If you take all of a sudden put Miles Sanders there, he would be in the mix to start there. So, I mean, it'd just be interesting to see if they don't move him somewhere. And then if he gets a decent landing spot, all of a sudden Miles Sanders could get new life.
My theory for this offseason at some point in time is that Khalil Herbert will be moved to the Cowboys, which I think would be a great move for the Bears. As far as they already have depth and the Cowboys can really use a player and the Bears can get picks and just keep building on this legacy they're building right now, which I'm pretty happy with. So Tim, the ultimate Bears fan.
I mean, if you're the Bears, I'm happy because the Bears got 3 running backs that I think would start on quite a few teams right now in the league. So you got to like it if you're a Bears fan with Herbert, Johnson, and Swift. So I like it.
Yeah, I think they're gonna keep all 3 of them. Rotation, keep them all fresh.
That's fine.
Well, you saw injuries last year. I mean, they had one game they're playing a backup fullback as their tailback because everybody was hurt. So I mean, I don't think you just want to just dump running back depth if you don't have to. If I'm the Bears, I'm not doing it unless I'm getting something really nice in return.
And you also got to keep in mind, or we should keep in mind, is that the greatest asset you have is your quarterback. You do not want to have the defense know that you're one-dimensional. You will be one-dimensional. You have a fullback playing, right? JT just mentioned that. So I think they've done a great job. Like, even like compounding assets to protect Caleb, right? Even with Keenan Allen playing 14 games, you're having Rome come in there. That gives you another safety blanket. So you're not playing with the kid Scott as your number 2 when they're going to double team DJ and just make it harder on Caleb. I just feel like, yeah, I'll go down for the Bears thing. You don't want me to do that. But anyways, long story short, I think they keep all 3. I hope they do. But yeah, if he does get traded, get Herbert before that if you think that's going to happen, right? He probably could buy a low candidate right now.
And yes, an awesome part of the backfield is Kerry Blasingame from the Bears. I mean, you saw him last year tote the load sometimes when it had to be done. So, these guys, underestimated players who could just fill in, but that's a joke, obviously. But let's go Bears. Tim, I love it. So next one, Nicole Hardman and Trey Palmer for Pierre Strong and CJ Spiller. So JT, back to you. Hardman and Trey Palmer from the Bucks for Pierre Strong and CJ Spiller.
I'm taking this one for Palmer just because I think Palmer is the best player in this trade by far. I don't really care about any of those other guys, so I'm taking Trey Palmer.
What do you think there?
I think it was just a trade to make your blood flow for about 14 seconds and then keep it moving.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Agreed. All right. Next one. Alec Pierce, JT's ringing a bell on JT. Alec Pierce, 412 for Xavier Hutchinson, Mecole Hardman, John Mechie, and the 502. I'm a big Mechie fan. So, Tim, what do you think about this trade?
Well, I mean, the trade was made because Mechie, right? The trade was made because you're hoping that, obviously he dealt with crazy circumstances when he got tested at the draft, right? Or right after. I mean, he's 23 years old. What was he, a first-round pick or was he a second-round pick? Do you know, JT?
He was a second-rounder.
Second round. Yeah. I mean, he was good at Alabama. You're drafting him based on last year was just a get back. I mean, he fought cancer, right? So, just get back. I mean, this trade probably has a lot to do with, do you think Anthony Richardson is going to sit back there and throw the ball to more than 2 people? And I don't think so, right? And when Indianapolis went out and got another wide receiver, that doesn't bode well for Pierce. I don't think, especially when I don't think Richardson's a high volume passer. You're really making this trade on 2 different things. You're trading for Mechie, I think. I think that's what you're doing. And just hoping that he turns out. At the end of the day, you're getting 2 swings with CJ Stroud and just hoping someone latches on with Hutchinson and Mechie. I mean, that's why the trade. Hartman, I mean, he's going to play. He'll make a play every 17 games. So the dude might have one good game. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it was. There's just another trade. Make the blood flow. I didn't care for Pierce. I don't think what's his name's a high volume passer. So that's what my thoughts are there. And I know you love the Colts, so probably got higher upside on him.
Yeah, he kind of got replaced this year, which kind of sucks because I think JT had a big soft spot in his heart for Pierce. So
yeah, Alex Pierce was I was thinking he was going to take a couple of years. I thought last year with AR at the helm, he was going to make a step, and I thought this year 3 was going to be the big move for him. Adding Adonai Mitchell is just an absolute thorn in the side of Alec Pierce. So I think those guys are pretty much going to play the same spot. So that makes it really, really difficult. If I'm trading for either of these guys, I'm trading for who I think might be future players somewhere else. Because here's the thing, I like Xavier Hutchinson a lot. I like Mechie a lot. But both those guys are just buried right now for the Texans. But they could not be, mid-season, maybe next year, they could end up on a team and be other. Same thing with Alec Pierce. Say Mitchell takes over that spot. There's a chance they can move him. My Colts fandom says Pierce and the 4-1-2. I'll lean that side, but I could easily see myself making the Mechie Hutchinson 5-2. I don't care about Hardman in that trade. But I can see that because I like all those wide receivers. They're just all buried right now. That's the issue for me. And I can see any of them actually being in a decent situation if they got moved. So I don't mind it.
What's your guys' thought on this? Where if a receiver doesn't pan out in his first couple of years, he's pretty much washed. Like, so even though we had dreams of John Mechie being, the situation, obviously you saw what the Texans had. At this point in time, now they got Tank Dell, Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Noah Brown still back up there, Robert Woods. So there's a lot of talent on this team still. And they also have Dalton Schultz, who they pass the ball to a lot. And they just drafted Cade Stover. So what Mechie, if he goes through his entire contract, now he did have lymphoma, I think something like that. One of those a blood disease. I forgot which one it was, but he had cancer for a year. We recovered from it, but I mean, at this point in time, if you go through your entire rookie contract and never really make a splash, you're pretty much done for in the NFL, right?
I would. Oh, sorry, JT.
No, I was going to say, I think that's the thought. Now, there's guys that have had good careers that didn't blow up. I know it's a very small percentage. I know that, a lot of guys look at it like, hey, if a guy didn't hit this threshold as a rookie, if he didn't get 500 yards and X amount of catches, the chance of him ever being fantasy relevant is really small. But it does happen. I mean, I think people forget Reggie Wayne wasn't a bust out guy his first couple of years with the Colts. It took him 3-4 seasons before he became the Hall of Famer that he is. So it does happen. I think Mechie is definitely interesting situation. I really was hoping for him this year. I was excited what he could do, but now Nico, Dell, they make the trade for Diggs. That really pushes Mechie down even further. And Hutchinson, who I liked a lot coming out of Iowa State, pushes him down even farther. So, that's a really loaded room right now. So again, if I'm trading for those guys, I'm not giving up on those guys. I'm just guessing that they're going to be somewhere else at some point and then get a rebirth somewhere else.
I would hope so. I think John Mechie's a fan favorite for everybody. So, yes, absolutely. Okay, an underrated player here, Dontavian Wicks for Michael Thomas and Austin Eckler. That seems like a lot to pay for Dontavian Wicks. But, Tim, what do you think about that trade?
Yeah, I mean, I thought at least Eckler probably in win now. Michael Thomas, I think he's done. I'd be surprised he ever catches 50 balls in one season again in his life. Like, seriously. Who's signing him and what routes is he running with bad ankles? But, Austin Eckler would probably be like, hey, you take a good flyer on him, right? The upside. Obviously, you bought him super low. He had a horrible year last year. I think, like, in the right situation, depending on how Washington uses him, he could be good. Another rookie quarterback drop-offs. We know he can catch the ball. Can they utilize him the correct? He's not going to have to, like, fight for those, 1 yard with Brian Robinson there. I think that keeps him a little bit more fresh, right? So, like, if you're in a PPR league, can Austin Eckler, help you cross the line, right? Because I would imagine the team you're trading for two old assets as far as playability. Like, And what is Wicks, right? We just talked about Houston having, a loaded wide receiver room. Well, Green Bay is continuing to grow that. They don't have like one person that, Jordan Love's been isolated throwing the rock to every time. So what is the upside there, right? So you're getting a younger, maybe you're just hoping that long term Wicks becomes, a solid number 2 maybe. But really, you're getting rid of 2 assets that might not be worth anything after this year, right? So I don't know. I think the Eckler, if I was leaning, because the Eckler has more of an upside, he's proven he's done it. So he's not bad to have an RB3 right now, I don't think. So that'd be my input.
I think the Packers, as we saw, Josh Jacobs catches a lot of passes and he eats up tons of volume. Jordan Love can run. They have Christian Watson, who, if he can stay healthy, he's a great player, but that's obviously been a question the entire time. They drafted Marshawn Lloyd, who also catches some passes. And then you got Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft on the same team. On top of that, you got Romeo Doubs, who has been a kind of a established player on that team. Dontavian Wicks kind of falls right in there, playing like the secondary slot. I'm not really sure. I don't like any Packers receivers right now. It'll be a year or so until Christian Watson's probably gone. If his hamstring issue still keeps bothering him and he can't stay on the field, he's probably gone, which will be open up a big chunk of stuff, maybe for Jaden Reed or possibly for Wicks on the outside. I don't know. But I'm staying away from all the Packers right now for this year. If I'm going to win now, I don't want to touch a Packer besides Jordan Love. But I do like Dontavian Wicks. I think he's an underrated player for where he's. I think he's like a wide receiver 5 or like a wide receiver 6 in most drafts. I would love to have a guy like Dontavian Wicks, on my roster somewhere, buried at wide receiver 30, because he's still only 22 years old, I think. So he's a pretty good player. He showed pretty well, like he's got talent, just buried on a team like that. So that's someone. If you're in win now, or if you're in rebuild, I'd be happy to get rid of a guy like Austin Eckler for Wicks. I would have tried to get maybe a third, like a somewhere in the 4th round pick thrown in there somewhere also too, instead of Michael Thomas. But it is what it is. So
yeah, I mean, I'm on Eckler if I'm gonna win now, and I just need another guy that can kind of get me points this year. Long term, I'm on Wicks. 39 catches, 581, 4 touchdowns last year is kind of their 3rd, 4th option. I'm not sold on Christian Watson with the injuries. If he doesn't play a lot, that moves Wicks up. I actually think Wicks could possibly be a little bit better than Romeo Doubs. Doubs going in his 4th year, I think 3rd or 4th year, and then Wicks in his 2nd. So I think Wicks has got some upside. I think there's a little hype behind him. But yeah, it's going to be tough to figure out who actually gets the catches. It was pretty even across the board. I think they had like 5, 6, 7 guys with more than 30 catches last year,
right,
on the Packers. So it was just, he was really sprinting around there. I do like Wicks for the future. I don't think this is a terrible trade at all. I think Michael Thomas is done. Eckler, it's a cheap Eckler. For where he's at, what is he going to do with the Commanders? I don't know. I don't think we'll ever see the Eckler we saw with the Chargers. But hey, I'll take. I think you could go either way on it.
Next trade is one of my trades, okay? And it's actually a good one. So get ready for this, all right? I actually made a good trade. Doesn't happen very often, but here we go. I got the 101, and I gave away the 103 and the 203. So just the league you're in with me, Tim. What do you think about that trade?
The 103, right? What are we looking at? The 103, you're taking Daniels, or you're taking it depends, because you're taking Drake May. Okay, cool. Caleb Williams has just more weapons set up for success. We talked about that. I think continued success. They got a young core around him, right? You got DJ Moore. So if you're taking Caleb, which I would assume you are, I think it's a good trade.
Maybe not.
Okay, well then trade that pick to me, and I'll take Caleb for us both, and we'll both be able to celebrate. But at the end of the day, you got the 101. You control the draft. You control that. It depends on your team too. You're getting an asset that you value higher. But I will say, to JT's point, just to say, there is a lot of depth in the 203. The 2nd round, I've done a lot of mock drafts. There is a tremendous amount, and I always believe in, if you can get 2 quality people over 1, I don't know. So you got to go. It's the gift and the curse. I thought that, to be able to control the draft, Who cares about the 203 if Caleb blows up? If that's who you go, or whoever else, or Marvin Harrison, right? If he's really going to be that dude because he's going to get targeted a million times in Arizona, and I mean he could be a 10-year player on your roster, right? So the duration of the entire league, you got Marvin Harrison, who has the pedigree to be a Hall of Famer. So
maybe.
John, I'm gonna go with this, and I'm gonna press because I did a very similar trade as to you in another league. So I had the 103. I traded the 103 for the 103 and my 25 first for the 101 and the 201 this year. In the deal, I desperate for wide receiver in this league. I mean, desperate beyond desperate for wide receiver in this league. We were just talking about Wicks and Demarcus Robinson, the third wide receiver for the Rams, were my two starting wide receivers with Josh Downs. So that's how desperate I was here for starting wide receiver. So I traded up to the 101. I was going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. with the 101, and right before the draft started, I got a trade offer and I pulled the trigger. I got Justin Jefferson and Wan'Dale Robinson for the 101. I was able to get Jefferson for 101. Then I turned around and took my boy Ladd McConkey at the 201, immediately put him in the starting lineup with Jefferson and Downs. And this is a team that I'm loaded at running back with CMC, JT, Najee, and then I've got good quarterbacks. So I was like, I'm going to make the move because I'm wide receivers away from being a contender in this league. So I gave up the 25 first and got the 201. So I like you giving up the 103 and 203 for the 101. I had to actually give up a first round the next year to get the 201 in that deal. So I like where your head's on that. Well, I'll take the 101. But what do you guys think about that move, me making that trade, getting Jefferson, Wan'Dale Robinson, and Ladd McConkey in there on that team?
That's awesome. That's absolutely phenomenal. Good trading. Good job.
Yeah, I mean, shit, to get Justin Jefferson, shout out to you.
I was pumped. I was going to take Marvin Harrison, and then all of a sudden I got a last-second deal. He throws out Justin Jefferson. I needed wide receiver help, like I told you. So I came back. I was like, hey, you want to throw Wan'Dale Robinson in there? And he's like, really? I'm like, yes. And he's like, fine. He's like, I'm not going to let this trade go through for Wan'Dale Robinson. So I was able to add Wan'Dale Robinson, which for me, he's going to be, just a depth piece for my team in case he ends up being able to do something for the Giants.
You can wish cast the 101 to be Caleb Williams equals Joe Montana, or you can wish cast the 202 to be Ladd McConkey, which ends up being Jerry Rice. So you can wish cast whatever you want to. You know that Justin Jefferson is Justin Jefferson. You are already getting Justin Jefferson. You're not getting, I could be a boat or it could be whatever, when you have Justin Jefferson at the top of your wide receiver stable, that is absolutely fantastic to have. Just that security of set it and forget it is.
I like Marvin Harrison Jr. probably more than anyone. And I have for like 2 years now. And so, but I looked at, like you said, I was thinking about it. I'm like, well, I'm hoping Marvin Harrison ends up being Justin Jefferson, right?
100%.
That's what I want. I want Marvin Harrison to be Justin Jefferson. I'm like, why wouldn't I just take Justin Jefferson? So I'm like, I'm taking it. I loved it. I love that move. And I like the move for you at the 101.
Yeah. If you get Justin Jefferson in that league, John, with that 101, obviously that's just incredible. That's winning the lotto, I think.
Yeah,
John,
exactly.
Can we jump to the one trade that I made? Because I do got to jump off here in 1 minute on the Olave 105. Are we allowed to talk about that?
Go ahead. Have at it.
So I made a trade. I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I think like fantasy football, how I approach it is one, try to win a championship. So you definitely try to win whatever league you're in. You try to win it. Obviously, try to win it every year. But it's fun to get guys you like. And there's some players I just don't like them as a player for whatever reason. Like Chris Olave, I'm not a huge fan of Chris Olave. He's been highly productive. I traded, so let's back up. I won it last year, went 16-0. I don't give a shit about Chris Olave. So I already got that box checked off of winning the league. Now I want to play either guys I like or long-term or a little bit of fandom. So I traded Chris Olave for the 105. And I know Nick put it on Twitter and it was like 50-50 based on this. My thought is this. My thought of making the trade was I was kind of bored. And I like to make trades. So that was kind of interesting. Got me back in the draft. I didn't have any picks. So got me back in the draft to get to host it, whatnot. So I was pumped for that to get back in the draft. Also, I don't know if I'll get a highly more productive guy than I will with Chris Olave at the 105. So what I was thinking is I'm hoping that, in a best case scenario, and this probably won't happen, Daniels falls to me. Probably not going to happen. Second base, best case scenario, as far as players available, is Neighbors. I would love him. I like him. I know that people are down on him, but I think that he could be the dude. I think he just every metric. I think he was better than Chris Olave coming out of college. And then also Bowers, right? With tight end premium. And I know people don't like that tight end premium. They got Michael Mayer. It's like, dude, I'm a Notre Dame fan. I also watched Brock has been that dude. He's literally been that dude at a national championship winning program and team. He's been that dude, and everyone in the country knew he was that dude. He gets an ankle injury. He goes to the Raiders, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, they don't have a quarterback. It's like, well, Pittman had a hell of a year, and he had Gardner Minshew throwing him the rock.
Yep.
So don't trip on that. Also, say hypothetically, I'm just a numbers guy. And I'll never have to worry about my tight end position in a high link with David Njoku and Bowers. I don't have to think about that for probably the next 10 years. I'm being serious. So then say all tight ends start out slow, okay? But if you look at your roster in a team, there's only like 4 guys that are even decent at the tight end position, right? And then, so if you're able to get a guy like a Travis Kelce we talked about, he's been able to put over an average probably 10 points, maybe 6 points better than every other tight end in the league for the last 5 years. That's a competitive advantage. And so I'm looking at that. Plus I had Mayer. So I mean, I looked at it like that. And then I also looked at it like, okay, I could even trade the 105 or I could get a JJ McCarthy. So the options are there. Plus I love to trade, and it got me way more excited. I'm pumped for the draft now. It changes it. That's why I do the fantasy, right? I won the league. My team is still stacked, but kind of older. I know Chris Olave is a young guy. It's his 3rd year. And I fucking hate Derek Carr. Excuse my language, but can't stand the guy. The guy is like, he's like a stick shift old car. I don't like it. I don't want anything to do with it. So that was my reasoning. I'm going to end it with that because I do have to jump off for a work meeting.
And I'll say it real quick before Tim jumps off. I love the trade because you either can go QB. Someone might trade up for QB if you don't want that extra QB. I love the idea that Neighbors might fall to you. You could always go with Dunze there at 1-5, and I'm a huge Brock Bowers guy. I think he's the best tight end to come out in a long time. I know everybody hates the Raiders landing spot. I don't think it matters. I think he's just an offensive weapon. I love him. I love that move because I would take any of those guys. I'd take Neighbors. I'd take Bowers, and the fact that you could go QB at 105 or possibly get future picks. I mean, you could probably get a future 25 and a second rounder, for that 105 or maybe something more, especially if somebody's going up to get a QB. I mean, you could get maybe 2 seconds this year and a first next year for that pick. And then all of a sudden you're cooking in the second round with a couple guys. So I love that move, Tim. Actually, I think having the 105 gives you so many freaking options.
Well, thank you, because I'm not going to lie. He had the 102, and I thought I did that. But I'm dumbass, was sending out 50 trades at one time, and I picked the 105. But I'm happy with it. My number, I was born on August 5th. Shout out to me. 5's great. You boys enjoy the show. Thanks for having me. Next time I won't get summoned to corporate America.
It happens. Thanks for coming on, Timmy.
All right, boys. Have a great day. Yes. See you soon. All right,
bye. All right. JT, you have to be the brains of the operation for the rest of the show, okay?
All right. Well, I'll try to move them quick so we can move through here as we're already at 48 minutes. I'll make sure we don't go forever.
We're on number 4.
We're on 7. We're on 7, John.
All right. Drake London, 204 for Tank Dell, 203 and 211.
Oh, this one is real even for me. I know people love Tank. I like Tank. I just feel like that's gonna be a lot of different guys there the whole time. I'm probably going London 204 here for me. 204, 203, right in the same spot. I'm getting about the same guys. 211's a nice little add-on there. If you're a Dell guy, I can see taking the add-on, but I'm probably leaning London in 204.
Yeah, I'm on your side with that one too. I agreed 100%. I like Drake London. Everybody complained about his depth of target. That's fine. Okay, whatever. He just had shit quarterbacks the last couple of years. They say he's a tight end. He's the same as Kyle Pitts. Whatever. Have at it. I'll take Drake London. He's going to get a ton of volume. He's in a good offense, so I'll take Drake London. Noah Fant, next one. Noah Fant, Ramondre Stevenson, 307 for the 204 and a 25 second.
Man, if I don't need the guys this year, I'm probably going 204 and a 25 second. If I've got a ton of players, I could shed some space. I like those guys. I think it's a pretty even trade. I think Fant has a better year this year. Stevenson isn't dead, even though he did not have a good year last year. I think he'll still be in the mix, but I do think Antonio Gibson hurts his value a little bit there. It's pretty even, but if I can spare the players, I don't need them this year. I'm taking the 204 and the 25 second.
Yeah, that's good. I made a handful of trades with Pat Fitzmaurice this morning, so I just asked him, can you come on the show and talk about the trades he made, because I think he's just taking out my garbage, just to be a friend. He said, afraid not, my man under the gun with writing deadline, and I have to make he's got to make his daughter's lacrosse practice this morning, so he can't go. But he just said, if you need to kill time, you could talk about a deal. The deal I just made with Nate List in a 14-team Superflex. I gave the 110 for Dontavian Wicks, who we talked about previously, how we think he's a stash and what should be an early or at worst mid-25 first. So what do you think about a 14-team Superflex, the 110 for Dontavian Wicks, and probably a 25 mid-first?
I could see Wicks in the 25 mid-first. I mean, especially if you're looking at running back, there should be a loaded running back crew next year. I know some people are down on the QBs. I think some people will change their mind next year. By the time it gets here, people will be excited about the QBs that are coming in next year, even though everybody hates them this year. People didn't know we were going to have Jane Daniels wasn't on the radar last year at this time either. So I don't mind that move at all. 110, you're probably looking at maybe Worthy drops you, probably Brian Thomas, Lad McConkey, one of the running backs, either Brooks or Benson, which I like all those guys. So it's a toughie to kind of go out. But if you like Wicks, which I'm guessing he's a Packers fan and he likes him, I'm guessing that's why he went out and got him and got the mid first for next year.
I've heard him talk about Wicks plenty of times, so I think he's got a little, I think he sees what most people who aren't even Packers fans see, that Dontavian Wicks has a lot of talent. He's, possibly he's one of those guys who, we talked about earlier. If he doesn't get us, he's someone that if he doesn't pan out in the first year or two, that you'd like to hang on to, because he could be definitely a part of this offense. And you're trading away the 110 for a 25 first, which could be if it's the 110, 111, 112, okay, you lost. But if it's anything less than the 110, 109, 108, 107, 102. It could be the 101 next year. Yeah. You never know.
There's just a lot of talk about Wicks because, he was a 5th-round pick, but he was on an absolute horrible Virginia team. Yeah. So, he just had no one throwing the ball to him. He was bad. I think he could have went higher. And I think, I think he kind of slid in the draft. And then I think last year the Packers this guy's actually – he's probably better in the 5th round we got him in. So, and then again, with the Christian Watson stuff, I actually think Wicks is better than Romeo Doubs. So, right now, Wicks, he's your number 2 behind Jaden Reed. But I think Jaden Reed, I don't know if he'll ever be that guy who catches a million balls just because they move around a lot. So, Wicks has high upside there.
Yeah, Wicks is somebody I'm targeting. So that's him and Darren Waller have been my or not the what the hell's his name? The Giants tight end. I just traded for him 2 leagues yesterday. So
are you talking about Bellinger?
Dan Bellinger, yeah. I think that he's Theo Johnson. They just drafted Theo Johnson. I think Waller leaves. So Dan Bellinger, I think, may have a great opportunity this year. So they're just kind of sneaky stashes that I'm pulling out lately. But all right, next trade. First of all, I traded as long as Stevenson is part of this. 2 years ago, I traded straight up. I traded away Jared Goff. I thought he was done for, and I got Ramondre Stevenson. And look how the tides have turned now.
They can catch up with you quick here in a year or two. It's crazy how it works in fantasy football.
Oh, it's so bad. I wish I would have made that in redraft real bad, because Dynasty, it hurts even worse. And I'm going to have to – it's my division opponent.
John, everybody else said that Goff was just a holdover, and now they signed him to a huge contract, and he's there for the rest of the time.
And I feel like that guy who, Mr. Rogers, when he puts a clown face on, over his – I got head, so it is what it is. T. Higgins for Mark Andrews in the 406. So pretty much T. Higgins for Mark Andrews and a lottery pick.
in tight end premium, I'm probably going to Andrews here. I mean, I think he bounced back when he's on and he's healthy. He's the number one target for the Ravens and Lamar. So I like Andrews. People are down on him a little bit because of the injury, but I like him. And then at 406, you can take a flyer on plenty of wide receivers out there, or double up with another tight end. Take a young guy in that fourth round. Give me a Cade Stover from Houston, that 406 there, and I'll stash him on my bench, and hopefully he hits in the next couple of years and replaces Andrews.
Yes, absolutely. I like both those backup tight ends. It's a pretty good situation they have for the future on the Ravens. Noah Fant, 307 for Gus Edwards, Bo Melton, and 306.
For me, give me Fant in the 307. I don't know if Gus Bus does much. If he does, it's going to be early part of the season and he gets touchdowns and you're going to have to sell him as high as you can. Bo Melton to me just feels like a guy got some good plays at the end of the year last year, but I think he's buried there. And then the 306 to 307 isn't that big of a mix for me. Tight end premium, give me Fant and the upside of him.
Noah Fant's got so much competition on the depth chart, and that's the only thing that I think he's just oozing for a breakout. An injury on that team could be great, but they have three awesome players that are just ball hogs to begin with. So Fant could, at some point in time, Fant should be able to.
Hopefully, the thing is they got rid of all their other tight ends, so hopefully he's not playing in a 3 or 4 tight end mix like he has in the past, and he actually stays on the field the whole time. I mean, the only guy they went and got rookie AJ Barner from Michigan in the 4th round, but he wasn't a big receiver. He was more of a blocker at Michigan. So you know what? I like Fant this year. I know he's fighting with all the wide receivers for targets, but hopefully this year he actually is just him on the field. He stays on the whole time.
I'm worried about the quarterback situation first. It's first of all, I'm not sure if it turns into Sam Howell. I think both me and you are both be like, yes, they're going to pass.
I would love it to be Sam Howell.
Yeah, but behind JSN, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett, Noah Fant's going to get scraps. And they also, I mean, the other problem is they have Ken Walker. Zach Charbonnet is not known as like a humongous passing option, but there's they have some running backs that can catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. So just the problem is the slice of the pie is so small for Fant. But I mean, at the same time, he's 26 years old, and this is about the time when tight ends break out. So if he's going to break out, it's going to be soon. Khalil Shakir and Dan Bellinger for Greg Dulcich. This one just happened yesterday. It's tight end premium league and half point PPR for wide receivers. So that being said, I just told you about my love for Dan Bellinger here. I like Dulcich, but I just don't trust his injury background. Now, the thing with this also is that the Broncos, they might get rid of Courtland Sutton. They have Troy Franklin and Marvin Mims. We don't know what's going to have as a bad offense or if he's really going to pan out. So they got Audric Estime, who's not known as a humongous receiving option. Jaleel McLaughlin. And Javonte Williams, who catches a lot of backfield, the lead back, who catches a lot of balls out of the backfield. So with Bo Nix at quarterback, what do you think Greg Dulcich is going to be this breakout monster season, Greg Dulcich, or is he going to be somebody that, I mean, he's only 24, so he's been in the league for 3 years already. He hasn't done too much minus a decent rookie season. What do you think about that trade?
I think it's pretty even. Dulcich has probably got the highest upside. Obviously, the injuries have been a major issue for him. I do like Bellinger like you. I think he, coming in his 3rd year, I like the upside of him. And even though the Bills keep signing wide receivers, right now, at least the way it looks like Shakir has got a spot in that starting lineup, unless things get crazy and change overnight. But right now, even with Curtis Samuel there, it looks like Shakir, Samuel, and Coleman will be the top 3. So if he actually is in that top 3, I really like it. So I'm probably leaning Shakir and Bellinger for me.
Yeah, I'm just not sure where he's got. They're probably going to play a lot of 2 tight ends. Hopefully that they have the 2 outside guys, and they get a lot of. If he's in a rotation with 2 tight ends and he's in an outside, which I think he's going to do, then it'd be a good. He'll be on the field for a lot of routes. So
I mean, you just got to think Shakir, if he plays the slot. I mean that Beasley played the slot and had a million freaking catches for them. So, I mean, they right now he's listed in the slot with Curtis Samuel, playing the Z and Coleman playing the X. Now the question is, a lot of people don't really think Coleman's an X. So that's the issue right now is they've got Coleman set up to be the X, but I don't know if he's going to really succeed at that. They just signed Chase Claypool, who we know my hatred for Chase Claypool. They're just hoping that Keon does not become friends with Chase and start becoming Chase Claypool. That's the worst thing that could happen to Keon Coleman, because Chase is not who you want to end up being. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. But I'm willing to take the upside of Shakur ends up being one of the guys. I just don't like. I have to be honest. I just really don't like the rest of that receiving core, and I think we might get into the season where it doesn't care what position you play. They just have to put out the guys that can actually catch. And it could be Shakur and Samuel.
The best thing that could happen here is that they put Keon Coleman as the main receiver in this offense, and then they have Kincaid and Knox also playing double tight end. So and then they put Shakir as the guy who's going to be. He's a wiggly guy. He's a great yak monster too. If he plays on the opposite side of the field from Keon Coleman with a 2 tight end set and no slot receiver for a lot of these formations, I think Khalil Shakir could have a monster season this year. I think he's a little bit. That's just maybe again. It's called wish casting. That's what I do the most. I sit at night and I just work. I dream up these scenarios that my players are going to be awesome. But I think because Shakir will play on the outside and have a ton of looks. That's John McGlynn dream casting for one of his favorite team's players. So next one, Gabe Davis, Sam Howell, and 410. For a 209 and 304. So Gabe Davis just got a 3-year, a lot of guaranteed money for Gabe Davis with Trevor Lawrence. So what do you think about this trade?
Man, I'm leaning the 209 and the 304 just because I'm not a Gabe Davis guy. But Sam Howell, especially if I have Geno on my team, I'm making this trade. Because I want to have anywhere I have Howell, I'm trying to get Geno. Anywhere I have Geno, I'm trying to get Howell. I want both those guys just in case. I do like Howell. I hate the fact that he went there and stuck behind Geno. Obviously, we've seen it with Geno. You can sit for a lot of years, and you can start and then sit and then come back. So I'm not totally, out on Howell that he's done in the NFL as a starter. I like him the best in this group of players. I've been getting solid guys between 2.9 and 3.4, so it just depends on kind of where. If I want the quarterback, I'm going Howell. If I'm looking more running back, wide receiver, I like the guys I can get at 2.09 and 3.04. I mean, at 2.09, I mean you can get a Burton, you can get a Jalen Polk. 3.04, you can get a Ray Davis. I'd rather have him than Gay Davis. So I really do like that 2.09 and 3.04. If I'm out on Howell. But again, if I need QB backup help or if I have Geno, then I'm taking the Howell side.
Ricky Pearsall and Ben Sinnott are the 2 picks you made with those picks. How do you feel about this trade right now?
Who you give me?
Ricky Pearsall and Ben Sinnott are the 2 picks.
I'm taking Pearsall and Sinnott then if I'm getting 2.09 and 3.04.
Yeah, I guess
I like who I can get at 2.09 and 3.04. Like I said, it really just becomes if I have Howell and I don't have Geno and I'm out on him, I'll take the 2.09 and 3.04 unless I need Howell.
Luke Musgrave in the 4.11 for Jonathan Mingo in the 4.10.
For me, it's Musgrave and 4.11 pretty handily.
Yeah, that's Musgrave for sure. I don't. There's so many options on that offense. So you can give me a kiss. My daughter's leaving right now, so she has to give me a kiss. That's what happens. I like when she gives me kisses when she leaves. All right, so Musgrave is kind of buried in that offense, but at the same time, I'll take him over the other half of this trade, which is Jonathan Mingo in the 4.10. I think he's at worst case scenario, he's going to be twice as much volume as Mingo gets. So. 103 and 211 for Nico Collins, 307 and 111.
Ooh, that's a good one. Got tight end in super flex. I got to probably go the 103 here. like I said, you could still get a pretty solid wideout at 211. 103, I got to go take that because I can either get Neighbors, possibly Marvin Harrison Jr. or QB. I like Nico 111. I'm looking at either top RB off the board or like I said, like a Lad McConkey type player at 111 who I do like. But I think the value is the 103 and the 211 side.
I have to ask you this because I've seen this. I've seen this happen in so. What the hell? Nico Collins went for the 105 in one draft. He went for the 206 in a different draft I was in. Startup drafts. I'm sorry, they were trades. It was Nico Collins for the 105 for a rookie 105, and he went for rookie 206 or 205 in a different draft. And we also had two auctions. One auction he went for $37, another one he went for 115. Like he is so polarizing right now. What do you think Nico Collins is?
Yeah, I think that's what it is because he had the breakout year last year, so people were all over him, and then Houston went around and decided they were going to add 1 million other guys to the team. I think that's what, and then people are like, okay, well, Nico had a really good year, but is he going to have that type of season again? Now that they added Stephon Diggs, you get a full season, a Tank Dell. That's the toughie is you really got to decide. Do you think Nico is the number one? If he's their number one and he's the number one for CJ Stroud, he's worth all that high end stuff. If Nico ends up becoming an RB, he's a wide receiver 2 because they've got Diggs and Tank there, then he's not worth all that. So, I mean, that's really where the question is. Do you think he ultimately stays and is the, future number one for years to come for CJ Stroud? If you think that's the case, then he's worth all those guys are paying for it. Yeah. If you don't, he's not. And that's where you're seeing right now the difference is some people think he is the number one. Other people really are not sure. They're like, is he going to be the number one? I don't know. And if you don't think he's going to be the number one, then he's a sell high right now. And I think that's why you're seeing a lot of moves with him is I think a lot of people are on the sell high because they're just not sure. I mean, you look at his stats last year, 80 catches, 1297, and 8 touchdowns. I mean, fantastic year, played 15 games, but you had Dell who only played 11 games, who had 47 and 709 and 7 touchdowns. Schultz, he missed 2 games. He had almost 60 catches for 600 yards and 5 touchdowns. I mean, Brown and Woods even had solid years. Those guys, and now you add in a Diggs, and you got another year of Mechie and, some of these other guys. So, again, it just depends. Do you think that Nico can go 80, 1,200, and 8 every year? Or was that an anomaly? Is he actually more of a 65, 905 guy?
Yeah.
I think he's kind of in between. I think he's probably right around 1,000 yards. I think he's probably right around 70 catches, and 5 to 6 touchdowns. And so it just depends on what you think that's worth. Obviously, whoever the number one receiver is for CJ Stroud is going to be a stud, and everybody wants him. The question is, who is that actually going to be? There's a lot of people who think it's Tank Dell. They just think, oh, well, Dell got hurt, so Nico had a better year last year. And then there's a lot of people who think, hey, if they thought Nico Collins was the man, why are they trading for Stephon Diggs?
Right. If you're on the clock right now, do you want Rome Odunze or Nico Collins?
Long term, I probably want a Dunze, honestly.
Okay. Malik Neighbors or Nico Collins?
I want Neighbors.
Okay. Let's say Brock Bowers or Nico Collins.
I want Brock in tight end premium.
Yeah, I'm on the same page. It's one of those things. I'd rather just, even though you know what you got in Nico Collins, you think you know what you got in Nico Collins. I think I'd pay for what I don't know and the potential of the other guys. So yes, absolutely.
And like I said, that 1-3, I think you can get any of those guys. Also, you have the quarterback there, and Superflex always makes a big difference. So I think it's a pretty even trade. Honestly, you're getting Collins in the 111 and 307. Giving up the 211, 103. I think it's a pretty even trade, but I think the value wise goes a little bit towards the 103.
Yeah. Darius Slayton and it's 26th third or Michael Mayer in a tight end premium.
I'm taking Mayer.
Yeah, I traded for Mayer everywhere.
People are down on him because of Bowers, but I tell people this all the time. I don't think Bowers is a traditional tight end. He's just an offensive weapon. I don't think Bowers being on the field means Mayer's not on the field. I think they're both going to be on the field a ton together. So I'm not sold that Mayer isn't going to be especially in tight end premium, a pretty decent tight end. Especially if you're in any kind of start two tight end league, I want Mayer in that one.
Yeah, I'm envisioning that offense with Devontae Adams on one side, and then Michael Mayer and the Brock Bowers playing both tight ends, and then Jacoby Myers playing the opposite side of the field. So I could see both of them. That's probably what they're going to be running all the time with one running back, obviously not playing with a fullback, and probably no slot receiver in an offense whatsoever. So I'm not really too afraid of Mayer. It just sucks that I bought Mayer everywhere last year because I thought he was going to have this is going to be the Michael Mayer situation or season. And man, when Brock Bowers went there, I felt like the Tom and Jerry cartoon. My jaw just hit the floor. Like,
I think Bowers hurts Jacoby Myers more than it does Mayer. Probably, honestly.
Yeah,
I think Bowers is going to be a downfield guy. I think they're going to get the ball to him all over the place. And I think Mayer is going to be your traditional tight end. He's going to block. He's going to, be in pass, play action pass situations. So I don't think there's any way. And I think that's what the Raiders looked at it. I was like, hey, we're taking the best player on the board. And Bowers is not just a tight end. He's an offensive weapon. You're not going to be like, let's just set him up in a traditional tight end spot. If you do that, you're a moron. And why would you take him in the top 10? That's dumb.
Justin Fields for Jahan Dotson.
Oh, this one's crazy. Yeah, I've traded for Fields all over the place, and I traded some seconds and thirds for him. So you say, hey, would you trade a second or third for Jahan Dotson? I probably would. So, man, that's totally dependent on my team. I love Fields' upside. I love the upside of Fields. If he ends up becoming the Steeler, but this is the problem right now. If he ends up becoming the Steeler starter, is good. You're going to have to go out and spend a ton of money to get Fields again. Right now is the cheapest you're ever going to get him. But you're also, if you get him right now and he doesn't hit, he's dead and you'll never, ever get out of him for any amount of draft capital whatsoever. So I'm taking the shot on Fields. I think he can still have a shot and he can get his career back going. But the issue for me is if the Steelers end up running Russell Wilson all year and Fields doesn't see the field, that's not good for Justin Fields. He's going to go out as a free agent who got traded by one team for the number one pick and then literally turned around and they sat him all year behind a 35-year-old quarterback. Like, that's a bad sign for Justin Fields. So it's tough. I like Fields. I really hope he ends up being the starter for the Steelers. I really do. So I'm taking a shot on Fields, knowing full well I might just get egg all over my face on that move.
I just traded last night. I traded into the 1109. I took Justin Fields. I traded in at 1109. I got Justin Fields at 1109 in a startup. I traded in my 1409, $15 out of $100 fab, and I also switched from 412, which is pretty much the 5, to the 705 in the Campus Canton side of the actual draft. So I traded a round and a half away in the Campus College side, and I traded 3 rounds back plus $15 fab to get Justin Fields at 1109. Was that stupid of me?
Not when you consider that I was in a Campus Canton league where I ended up getting Justin Fields in the second round of a startup earlier this year. So, I'm the one eating it there, taking Fields in the second round of a startup, and now he's not even a starter. So, I don't, like I said, at this point, I think you're either so deep in Fields that you got to keep him because you got too much invested in him, or you're completely out and you're like, I'm getting rid of him, or you're someone like me who still believes, and so you're buying him everywhere. You're like in one of those 3 camps. I think you're either completely out, you think he's a terrible QB and will never start again, you think he's got a shot, or you're just like, hey, for what I can get for him, I'm not going to get rid of him because I had to spend too much to get him, so I'm just holding out hope on Fields. So I'm in the buy Fields. Oh, hey,
guess who's back? TG, how was the meeting? Let's go. Fantastic. All right. We got through a couple more trades, so you didn't miss too much because me and JT like to talk. But JT, since you have all that that gear on, Justin Fields or Jahan Dotson in that super flex tight end premium? Tim?
Dotson.
Nick Script loves Jahan Dotson. He's trading for him everywhere right now. He's trying to get him from me in a different league. He's got, I see him trading for him everywhere. That's his guy. He's posterizing him everywhere. If Justin, like JT had said, if Justin Fields breaks, if he gets a starting job and holds on to it and they sign him to a long-term contract, he buries Justin Dotson's value, even though I like Dotson. But, right now I can understand 100% that Dotson is the possibly the go-to guy. So,
and like I said, if Fields doesn't play this whole year for the Steelers, if he's the backup the entire season, I just think it just absolutely craters his value. And the thought that he ever becomes a starting quarterback again is in real question if he ends up sitting the whole year.
All right, 309, 412. Go ahead, Tim.
I was just going to I changed my opinion. I actually say Justin Fields because I just looked at all the quarterbacks that started last year, and Justin Fields probably better than at least 40% of them. I mean, Tommy, Cutlets was
Tommy Cutlets.
DeVito.
Justin will land in the upside, right? If he does get in the right position, he is coached better. And also Dotson's good, but having a quarterback they're both in the same boat in a sense. They better get lucky, right? I know, so I think Justin Fields. So I apologize for that. I was jumping on. I'm glad to be back, boys. What's the next one, Johnny? I'm
glad you're back too. The next one
We're on trade 18 here.
Yeah, 309 and 412 from Miles Sanders. This is 100% the picks for me. But JT, what do you think?
I'm on the picks because at 309 I am praying for Ray Davis, and then at 412 I'm taking either Malik Washington or a Cade Stover in that fourth round there for me. If they get to me, there's a couple other guys. Maybe a Theo Johnson drops there, so I'm going picks.
Yeah, Theo Johnson for me for sure. Tim?
Yeah, I mean, I like Miles Sanders because I'm just hoping that he can get back to getting out of a bad relationship. He was with an abusive significant other, and now we need to hold him and get him back to where he was. I just don't see how in any possibility he gets an opportunity to play that he's as bad as last year. And you're hoping Theo Johnson becomes the athlete that he is, right? I do love Rice, though. I've been on that. The problem is you two guys are in the same league that I literally have a pick that can get there. I'm not going to get him. I already know that. And I love the guy. So I'm just going to fleece every other league I'm in. I love him. So I'll go with Sanders because I'm just, I think he's got a 2-year window where he could be an impactful player if he's in the right position. So that's my opinion.
I just think I can get Eric All, or I can get Jalen McMillan, or I can get Tavion Sanders, or Braylon Allen, or something like that with some of those picks. So I kind of Miles Sanders. I think he's getting led to pasture right now. Is kind of the way I feel. So even though he may produce a little bit this year, I'd like I'll take the picks. That's just my train of thought anyway. But yeah, 209 and 304 for the 201.
For me, I usually like the extra picks, but I'm taking the 201 because I got my eye on Trey Benson there. I would make that move to see if I can make sure I can get Benson or a guy I talk about all the time, Ladd McConkey is falling right in that 11, 12, 201 range. I like him a ton. So I probably make that move up to the 201 to kind of make sure I get one of those two guys.
I just took Brooks over Benson in the draft. Did I mess up?
No. Most people have Brooks number 1. I'm just a Benson guy, and I love that Arizona offense. I think Brooks long term might be the guy. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens in Carolina. If he was fully healthy, I think he's probably the clear-cut number 1 guy. They say he's going to be back. I don't know how quickly they're going to rush him into service, but he's also only 20. I mean, he's one of those guys, a real young guy, so he's got plenty of years on him. So I like Brooks. I just have been a Benson guy, and I like what Arizona's doing on that offense. I think he gets a slower start this year, but I think he comes on big at the end of the year, and then I think James Conner is probably gone next year, and it's all Benson after this year.
Yes, agreed. 100% agreed. Next one is Tyler Boyd, my guy Tyler Conklin, which I think he's going to have a big year this year. Alexander Madison in the 404 for Josh Weil, Mason Rudolph, Gabe Davis, and 411. So Gabe Davis is pretty much, I think, the only big part of this side of the trade. Tyler Boyd, new slot receiver in Tennessee. Tyler Conklin, possibly the number 2 receiver in New York. Alexander Madison, who I'm not a humongous fan of, but he's only an injury away from an opportunity. So which side? I'll start. Where did I start last? Tim, I'll start with you on this one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot of. I've seen what Tyler Boyd can do, right? You think that Will Levis is better than Burrow? Nope. Tyler Boyd's had years where last year Higgins was hurt all year. He didn't do anything. Conklin, I think Conklin could actually be very good. I think it'll be okay. But you just got to look at, like, this trade was made. I'm actually the one that traded. I don't have any room for Conklin if I stay with he's not starting over Schultz. He's not starting over David Njoku. He's definitely not starting over Brock. So the other thing, Madison, he also, a guy that got the car, he didn't do anything with the car. He can be good in a split backfield, because I think that's where he could show. I mean, the trade was made for Gabe Davis. The trade was like, hey, get out of an area that you didn't excel in that offense. Can you, if you don't do well here with your upside, he's also 24 years old. Gabe Davis, if you go, I thought the dude was like, 26, 27. So you're hoping for that home run. Now people are like, hey, he's great for best ball. Well, depending on your structure, when Gabe Davis is playing over guys, you're hoping that's the best ball weekend. You're also hoping that type of frame. We have seen the upside of the gentleman. He just got to be more consistent. When Josh Allen and then, allow you, he got some pretty, didn't he get, like, how much did he get paid? 40 million to sign with the Jags?
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, the trade was for Gabe Davis. I think it was good for both teams because, John, your trade, you needed Conklin, and I wanted the upside of Gabe Davis. I tried to get him before he signed with anyone because, my thought is 24 years old. You've been in one system. Maybe that system wasn't for you. So we'll see what happens. He's going to get a lot of opportunities. The Jags are going to be losing a lot of games. So we'll see what happens. That's
JT, what do you think?
Yeah, this one's a close one for me. Even though I'm not a Gabe Davis guy, I think it's maybe worth a shot here. Conklin, if you can play him and he's going to play on your team, I like Conklin. Boyd is a guy I like, but he's a flex play. I mean, he just is going to be a flex play. The interesting throw with Davis here is the Rudolph. I actually think Mason Rudolph is better than Will Levis. I really do. So I actually like the Rudolph throw in here because I could see where Levis goes through a rough stretch, throws a bunch of picks and has some turnovers, and they gave Rudolph a shot, and he kind of does what he did last year with the Steelers, and he comes out and he actually plays well. And then you're like, well, do we want to pull him? He's actually playing pretty good. So I actually kind of I've been getting a lot of Rudolph because I just think that he's a decent backup to Levis, and I just don't believe in Levis. And again, like I said, I'm not a Davis guy, but for this value, I'm taking a shot on Gabe Davis. I'm with Tim on this. I'm taking the Davis Rudolph side.
Well, you guys are wrong. So, it's all right. Okay, Dan Bellinger for Andre Yosevich. Bellinger for Yosevich, Charlie Jones, and Cedric Wilson.
To me, I'm taking Bellinger, but that's just because I like the upside of him. I just think those other guys are buried, especially with the Jermaine, with the Burton signing. That really hurts those other two guys' value, I think. So I'm going Bellinger.
Tim?
Same. I think you were just, the upside on a tight end. So 100%.
I like Theo Johnson a lot, but I think that Daniel Bellinger is just an upgraded version of Theo Johnson, a little bit of an upgraded version over Theo Johnson. So I can wait. I'm going to have both of them on my team. I can tell you that right now. I'm going to trade. I'll probably draft Theo Johnson before anybody else even thinks about Theo Johnson in a lot of our drafts. So that being said, whoever wins that competition, I'll either the guy on my team, and it's a tight end premium by a full point. So we'll figure that out later. But so now we have Joe Mixon for Michael Wilson, the 210 and the 305. JT, you can start with this one.
For me, what is it? I'm taking, man. If I need a running back win now, I'm taking Mixon. But like I said, I'm liking who I can get at 210 and 305. I'm liking I can get, Ray Davis at 305 and a wide receiver there at 210, or even a Benson at 210. So if I'm like, oh man, I gotta have a running back fill the void on my team this year to give me a shot, I'm taking Mixon. But I do kind of like the draft picks just because I've seen them where they're falling now, and I like the guys falling in that range.
All right, so listen, I'm on a draft right now, and it's my turn to pick. Okay, so just as we're on the board, okay. So who's left right now is Keenan Allen. It's a startup draft, by the way, not a rookie draft. It's a startup draft, and my team is pretty young. So at this point in time, I'm probably gonna have to go younger, upside players. So guys who are left are like Keenan Allen, Tony Pollard, Brian Robinson, Aaron Rodgers, who I can get a year or two out of, or maybe even trade him away. Roman Wilson, who's day 2 pick that usually the Steelers kind of the fan favorite because the Steelers receivers kind of always pan out. Zach Charbonnet, who I like a lot, but he's kind of buried in the depth chart a little bit. Cortland Sutton, who I want no part of. Jacoby Myers, no thank you. Malachi Corley, not a big fan of. Russell Wilson, who I already have Justin Fields on this team. And like Zach Moss, there's a lot of garbage in this area. DeAndre Hopkins, I don't want to take a rental player for 1 year. Who else? Minshew, Michael Wilson, Roshan Johnson, who I like, but I don't want to spend a pick on this early. Marvin Mims is here. Raheed Shaheed, Dontavian Wicks, who we talked about earlier, Jermaine Burton, and Antonio Gibson. Out of those players, which guys do you guys think I should pick here?
Who do you have at QB right now? You said you had Fields, and who else?
Oh, I got a pretty good quarterback stable here.
I figured you always draft QB early as can be. So
I got Stroud at 104. I got Trevor Lawrence at 112, and I have Deshaun Watson at 6'5", and I also have Justin Fields at 11'9".
I'd say if you didn't have Watson, I would say take Russell Wilson. So you have Fields and Wilson because I love having both those guys just in case. I wouldn't mind taking Wilson because of that and then try to trade Watson. I've had a terrible time trying to trade Watson lately in leagues.
So Terry on Tracy.
Burton's going up a lot of spots for a lot of people. I like Roman Wilson. I just think he's, I think it goes Pickens, Muth, Wilson as far as receivers on that team.
Mm-hmm.
But man, there's a decent amount of guys in that range. It's kind of a tough range. Mims, Sutton, if he gets moved to a good team, could end up being, pretty interesting. So yeah, that's a tough spot. What do you think, Tim?
Well, how many picks before your next pick?
My pick is right now. I'm on the clock.
No, I know that. And then how many more? Like, I mean, are you?
Do you have a quick turnaround?
Yeah.
John, or is that way?
My next pick is not. This is 12-9. My next pick's not till 15-4. But I'm going to trade up again. I've made 9 trades already in the startup, and it's only 11th round or 12th. This is the middle.
And who are your wide receivers?
My wide receivers are I have Drake London, JSN, Rashee Rice, Chris Godwin, Jamison Williams, and Jahan Dotson and Ricky Pearsall.
So you got a lot of younger guys. I mean, are you trying to win this year and be competitive?
This is a campus camp league, so I'm drafting in the college side also at the same time. Okay. So, I got a lot of guys coming down the pipeline. I just want the best player available, I guess, is who I want.
I like Burton next year. I think Burton's good. He's a dog when he plays. He slipped in the draft, should have been a second-round pick. I think dude had some legal issues or some bullshit he did. I don't know. I like him because I like Joe Burrow. I think Higgins is gone. But then also Pollard. I like Pollard too. There you go, Brian. About time. That dog shit trade you sent me is not getting accepted, but good.
Yeah, Brian says take Pollard and sell him high mid-season.
Pollard's right. Yeah, because Pollard's still young too, and he doesn't have a lot of wear and tear. He can't score a touchdown to save his life in the goal line, but shit, outside of that, he's a good dude, probably.
Couldn't end up in a worse situation, Pollard, this year. I just feel like it's going to be 50-50 split no matter what. So, I don't know. But anyway, I don't know.
think Burton's got a good high upside. I mean, he's a guy, if he can keep his nose clean, like the guy's got a ton of skill. And if T. Higgins is gone, Burton's value is going to go through the roof. So that's an interesting pick for long term, I think, like Tim said.
Yeah, it is. Michael Mayer. I think
Roman Wilson's is a little safer, but I think Burton's got the higher upside. I've been kind of seeing both those guys go like late second to mid third. Depending on the draft.
So also there, I mean, just Michael Mayer, Tucker Kraft, Michael Mayer, I'm kind of intrigued by. Isaiah Likely's still here. It's a full tight end premium. So it's
why not Isaiah Likely? Why not Isaiah Likely? I mean,
I'd rather have
what?
Go ahead.
No, I was saying Likely's produced. He actually, I know Mark Andrews is the end all be all, but like the dude produced and he's a big body and he's still young and he's still growing, right? Last year was his second year in the NFL. I
Yeah.
think you just get better and progressive. I mean, that type of upside you can get if he goes to a different situation or Mark Andrews obviously is aging, his injuries. I don't know. I mean, listen, whoever you pick, it's all about upside. You got a lot of stuff. I mean, I do like having Pollard in a running back. Brian brought that up. That was actually a good one because I like. I feel like you can get a lot of wide receivers. So if you're concentrated on this side, you sound like you have a lot of young wide receivers. So maybe like the tight end RB. But I mean, it's whoever you like. I draft guys I actually am gonna watch too.
I don't love Pollard, but in this juncture, I don't think it's a terrible pick. You know what I mean? I wouldn't take him high anywhere, but you're sitting in the mid rounds, and you got to think if you need running back, wide receiver, tight end. I look at what you need the most because if you're not making another pick for 3 more rounds, it could get thin by then. So I would take one of the spots you need in your lineup.
Yeah. All right. We got about 10 more trade things here, and then I'll probably do that trade. But where are we at here on this sheet?
We are at 24. The 105, Gabe Davis, Nico Collins, Michael Mayer. I'm not sure who's trading for what. You've got a bunch of stuff here, so I don't know if it's 105 and Gabe Davis for Nico and Mayer. That's what I'm guessing you meant to type.
105. Yeah, I don't know why I didn't put 4 here. So this is a 14-teamer. It's a 105. 105 for Gabe Davis, Nico Collins, and Michael Mayer is what happened here. So what do you want the 105 or do you want Gabe Davis or Nico? We already talked about Nico Collins in some drafts before that where he was going and Michael Mayer thrown in here. I don't know. I think at this point in time, I think I'd want the Nico Collins and Mayer side just because I'm getting 3 pretty decent, players who are not. I know what I'm getting in. I pretty much know what I'm getting in all of those guys. Not that I'm sold on Gabe Davis, but Nico Collins and Michael Mayer, I think would be solid producers for a while. What, Tim, or let's say JT, what do you want? The 105 or the 3 players?
Oh man, that one's a roughie. I'm probably. I can't believe I'm saying this. I'm probably going to take the 105. That I'm just leaning that way of the different guys I can get there. You got Mayer and Collins. I like both those guys, but I can get Bowers at 105. I love Bowers. If a QB or Neighbors drops me at 105, I like that. So I'm probably going 105.
Tim?
Yeah, 105, because look at this. Collins, is he really going to ever be the number 1 on his team? Probably not. Mayer, I love Mayer, and I traded for Mayer everywhere I can, and still I'm trying to. I think he's going to be a good tight end because I think him and Bowers are going to be able to be fine. But is he going to ever be the alpha on his team, right? As far as a ball catcher. And then Gabe Davis. So we talked about Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis you have a strong team, and you're hoping that he's either getting you 5 points or 25 points. So based on that, the 105 we talked about earlier, you have so many options. You have QB. You can move that pick and get 2 picks or 3 picks, depending on that. Plus, you can get an alpha, right? Like if you say hypothetically Neighbors, every metric and every time he played, the dude's been good as hell. So say you get him or you get Brock. They're superior to any of these 3 dudes already, I think, from a prospect standpoint. And then if you needed a QB, you get that or you move it. So I like the 105 because it gives you so many more options. I got Gabe Davis and Michael Mayer for nothing, literally in our league. So you're trading the 105 for what? Nico Collins. And we just talked about how deep that wide receiver core room is. So 105 all day. I don't even think it's close. But it also depends on. But no, I still think you can break the 105 and get 3 different assets that are just as good, younger, more upside, more consistency. So that's my opinion.
The more I talk about Michael Mayer, I think I want Michael Mayer over Isaiah Likely. The more I talk about Michael Mayer in this situation, I think I'm going to draft him with my next pick here. So, but
6'5", big dog, dude. He's a big boy.
He is a big boy. And he had a lot of production in college too. He's a good college player. So the next one, it's $500 Fab or Kenny Pickett. You have $1,000 budget. You want half your Fab budget or Kenny Pickett? I'm just going to take the money and run because I'll be able to get some other guy.
I'll take the money unless I have Hurts and I'm real worried about him getting hurt. Other than that, I mean, I don't know why you'd be making a move for Kenny Pickett other than that.
Nah, I don't know. I can't stand Kenny Pickett. I thought he sucked. He's a crybaby. He doesn't like competition. He's the dude that showed up to his T-ball game to get the trophy. Didn't want to play in the games. A nerd.
That's it. It's JT. Sometimes you guys absolutely make me laugh, and it's great being here, man. Thank you very much. Donovan Peoples-Jones and 312 or Darnell Mooney.
I'll go first. I'm going Mooney. I like the situation in Atlanta. I think he is the number 2. I don't know what Kyle Pitts is ever going to be, but I Mooney, things kind of fell off the rails with the Bears last year, but he was really solid the year before. I'm not totally out on Mooney. I like this new situation. I want Mooney.
Tim?
Yeah, same concept. I want Mooney too, right? So you're getting at the 312 where I'm looking at. I did a mock draft. You're getting like Spencer Rattler, or you're getting your guy from San Diego, right, as a running back. So I would take Mooney. I mean, listen, Mooney got paid very, very nicely. And the reason why he got is because they did the same thing with, remember when Odell Beckham, his dad showed how much he was open with Baker Mayfield? That's literally what Mooney's agent did and showed Atlanta how open he was, right? He could be productive if he's the number 2 or a /2-3 in an offense. They're going to be run dominant. I would imagine with Robinson. So like, I like Mooney all day. I think that's a great trade for whoever got Mooney. So shout out to them.
I just had this Donovan Peoples-Jones like love in the core of myself. Where
you do.
It's Amon-Ra St. Brown and then Jameson Williams, who we're all crossing our fingers that he's going to pan out. But if something happens to either one of those guys, I understand Stan Laporta is like one of the target leaders on the team also. But Donovan Peoples-Jones could walk into that system on the outside and be a pretty damn good receiver, and he gets the punt and return and kick return points also. So, man, I don't know why. I don't know why I can't just. That's like the ex-girl. That's like your first love ever that you just can't walk away from, DPJ. And I don't know why I can't do it, but it is what it is.
John, I love it because I always think I'm bad about just like falling in love with players, and you're actually worse than I am, which is hilarious.
And it's for bad players too. That's the thing. If you fall in love with good players, it's okay. But when you fall in love with bad players and on every team just clogging your roster, it's even worse. So
he's also in love with Winston. Every league that I'm in,
I know, loves James Winston. I know,
loves James. He's got like you got like a core love for players. Like I just love it. The sad part is I don't have any more of them. Right? You loved Antonio Gibson. I fleeced you on a trade for Antonio Gibson. Like you loved him, and it was for your heart. Hey, it was for your heart. I'm a guy that likes to help others, so I saw your heart not fulfilled, and I came in there, gave you Gibson. Trust me, I'm the same way when it comes to Bears players. That like I just have to, I traded for Swift. I got Keenan Allen. Like I can't help myself. I'm degenerate when it comes to the love for the Bears. So I get it, John, but I'm here to fulfill you. So if you want to look at my rosters and you're falling in love, you just phone a friend and he'll take care of you. Okay.
Michael Mayer or Antonio Gibson in the draft right now. Which one would you take?
Mayer.
Oh, Mayer.
I don't know.
It's tight end premium, Mayer.
Yeah, I know. I just wanted to hear Antonio Gibson's name. I wouldn't have picked him there, but I just wanted to hear his name said by you guys. Just you guys do me a favor and say Antonio Gibson.
Antonio Gibson.
See, thank you very much. All right, here we go. Brandon Cooks in the 109 for George Pickens, 308, 26 second and third. Tim, go ahead and start with that.
You always got to do this. I know. I'm looking at it, and the thing that I found, and I know what you're going to say, because the 109, we're looking at the 109, you're getting Worthy.
Yeah, Worthy or Brian Thomas, pretty much.
Or Brooks, right? So depending on your roster.
So it's 109 for Pickens.
I like the 109. George Pickens is, I don't know what the hell. I guess to be just I know what JT's he'll take the other side. I'll take the 109 because he loves Steelers and Pickens is his favorite friend.
Yeah,
I look at this as the 109 for Pickens, and then the Brandon Cooks for 308, second and third and 26.
Yeah, Tim knows me too well. It's
Yeah.
Pickens for the 109, and then you're getting the 308, second and the third for Cooks. I'm taking the Pickens side because I think Pickens is pretty close to that 109. If it ends up being Brian Thomas, I think Brian Thomas is super similar to Pickens, and I want the picks. I want the second and the 2/3 over Brandon Cooks.
Just so everyone knows, I took an L there on purpose because I would have taken the Pickens side all day, but I didn't want it to just be one and the same. I love Pickens. No, I do, but I knew your ass was picking that. So
sometimes I'm too easy.
The 113 for the 112 and 631 out of $1,000 in fab budget. I'm not sure what's going on here, but
$631 to move up a spot. Is that what it is?
Yes.
Man.
I mean, at that point in the draft, there's probably 8 players that are pretty much the same value. So I'm not really sure.
I do think it's that. To me, that's pretty even. Unless I was on the clock and I was like, the guy I wanted was like at 112, and I'm like, I got to make this trade to get up a spot so I don't get sniped, which has happened to me quite a few times so far in drafts. I could see making the move. If there's definitely a guy I wanted there. If I'm sitting there looking at 112 and I'm like, one of these guys has dropped, somebody's dropped, or I need QB, say Bo Nix is on the board and they're like, oh, I got to get him, then I can totally see making that move. I don't have any problem throwing Fab out there to move up a spot to get your guy.
Tim?
Agreed 100%. If you got a guy that you're locked into, I say get your guy. You don't ever regret that. The Fab, just be strategic. Now you just need to be more conscious throughout the season, more hyper-focused on the money. But, yeah, get your guy.
The only good thing, if somebody fell through the cracks and there was a bidding war going on, you'd be able to outbid everybody for anybody at that point in time. You got $1,631 in Fab compared to everybody else's $1,000. So you're not that in a 30-team league, it doesn't happen very often, but 12-team, 30-man rosters it doesn't happen very often, but it does happen. Next one, Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett. Geno Smith, Tyler Lockett, the 211 and 100 out of $1,000 Fab for Justin Fields, Jelani Woods, and the 310. JT, you start with this one.
Oh, man. This one's so hard. Throwing Fields and Woods at me is like hard for me not to take those guys. I love both those guys so much. Oh, if I don't need Geno this year, I probably make the trade because I love the Fields upside. I love Jelani Woods. I think he bounces back off the injury. Oh, but man, the smart move, the not swinging for the fences move, is Geno locking the 211. That's the let's take the single play, and then the Fields Woods is I'm swinging for the grand slam and hoping I hit it. So it just depends on your risk assessment there, how much you're willing to put out there, I guess.
Tim?
Yeah, same thing. I mean, we're pretty clear on this. I mean, I like the Geno side for this year. I think Lockett's done after this year. He'll take a seat probably, I would imagine, JSN. Geno's probably got one more year starting. So it depended on your roster, but JT said it correctly. I don't mean to agree with the guy every single time, but he's bringing up some good points, ladies and gentlemen. It just is.
Ladies and gentlemen, he is bringing up good points. Yes, he does. So, all right. Next trade is – we're getting to the end, guys. We're almost there. Dallas Goedert for the 214 and the 309. Tight end premium. Tim, your turn.
So – this is how many people in this league?
These are 14 teams leagues and tight end premium also. So you're looking at the 214 to 309.
Yeah, I take Dallas Goedert. I just feel like I feel like Dallas Goedert. He stays healthy. I like Dallas Goedert here. That would be my pick.
JT?
I love picks, but I'm going Goddard here.
Yeah, you kind of have to. 214 is at that point, in reality, it's the middle of the third round in most rookie drafts. So I'll take Goddard. And the 309 in a 14-teamer, is going
to be pretty late. That's what I'm saying. I like 309. I'm getting some nice players, but in a 14-team league, it starts getting a little thinner there.
Antonio Gibson for the 214 and the 309 in a 14-teamer. JT?
Oh, man. That's a toughie. I can see taking Antonio there.
say you take Antonio Gibson.
I'd take Antonio Gibson, but it's that I feel like I think that's a pretty even Steven deal right there.
Tim, what do you think?
John, you had to have made this trade. I've never seen the guy.
It was me.
So I'm happy for you. Listen, you get guys you love, and he can catch the ball. The one other thing is we got to keep in mind. I always say this: at least guy can catch the ball out of the backfield. Wasn't probably utilized it correctly. Ron Rivera, that even Eric Bieniemy last year. I didn't feel like they used them as much as they could have. He's going to catch the ball out of the backfield. Yeah, I would say it's even and go with your guy. So I'm gonna say, John, congratulations. And I'm happy for you. I mean, he caught how many balls last year? He caught his career, he caught 48, so he'll probably catch 60 this year. So I like it.
The problem is,
remember Zeke did last year in that offense.
The problem is he's on a team with his mirror image of Ramondre Stevenson, who does the same thing that, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson's not as fast as Antonio Gibson is, but they're both big. They're both pretty fast. Gibson's faster, and they both can catch the ball pretty well, and it just kind of absolutely sucks. They're both on the same team now. I had them both in probably 7 or 8 teams, and now they land on the same team. It's like, son of a – it would have been – I mean, if Gibson would have went somewhere like the Chargers or somewhere else that, needed a running back, that are the Giants, somewhere like a dump-off ball galore – I would have been gravy in the Navy. I would have been smiling from ear to ear. It would have been, like a possum eating persimmons. It would have been absolutely fantastic. But it sucked. Now they're on the same team. Killed them. But 302 for Tajay Spears in the 26th third.
I'm going Spears in the third. Even though I like the 302, I can get some decent players there in a 14-team league. I'm probably taking Spears in the third.
Are you taking Spears or Tony Pollard right now if you had the opportunity?
Depends on the cost. I think they're going to be pretty even.
Yeah.
Pollard obviously is getting the money. Spears is a rookie. I think they're going to go with Pollard, and Spears will work in. I think it's going to be about a 60-40 Pollard split.
Yeah. Timmy, what do you want, 302 or Spears in the 26th third?
No, I'll take Spears in the 26th third. I mean, you're getting a player plus a third. So –
and I think Spears is worth that 302, don't you? If not, just slightly higher.
Right around there for me. It's right around there. But just because of the fact that he got cock blocked so bad by Tony Pollard being there. So, and I'm Spears. I'm one of those guys who, when there's smoke, there's fire, and his knee concern kind of is concerning for me. So I don't think he's here for a good time, not a long time, but I just don't like that his good time ends up being, in the same backfield with Tony Pollard. So 24. Go ahead.
But just hold on for Spears, though. I think because he was able to be with a professional like Derrick Henry, right? Last year, he learned the professional game, learned how to take care of his body at a different level. I know that's outside the realms, but I always keep that stuff in mind. Now, Pollard, he's a veteran, is going to be able to lean. The thing I would have been concerned more with Spears if he was getting the heavy load. I think they're going to put him in the right situations to be successful, to see the explosiveness, to see the playmaking ability. I like that he has someone else in the backfield. The main concern was if he was the lone wolf there, I guess it's good from a volume standpoint, but I don't know if it's good from a production standpoint. So
it's only good. It's only good for Will Levis is what it's good for, because each one, they're not showing their cards when either one of those guys are on the field, because they're both pretty much the same player. So it's good for Will Levis because he's getting built, a lot of stuff built around him. Offensive line's picked up, and he can dump off to the running backs. So he doesn't have to sit back there, have 1.9 seconds to throw the ball, and have to chuck it up to DeAndre Hopkins down the field. He actually has options now. So I'm, it's not stack the box because Derrick Henry's on the field kind of thing anymore. So, all right. Xavier Gibson, 25 third for Rasheen Ali, and 420 out of $1,000. Obviously, there's probably a pot smoker that made this trade for the 420, just whatever. I think it was done on actually April 20th. So it was kind of one of those things. But JT, what do you think?
What did you say? You said Gibson, the 25 third for Rasheen Ali and 420?
Yes.
Is that which Gibson is that? Because you put it with a P.
Xavier Gibson.
It's like Xavier Gibson. Okay. I'd probably lean for the 25 third, but I do like Rasheen Ali, but he's going more like mid to late fourth, and in a 14 team. Yeah, you're probably fourth round. Man, if I have Derrick Henry, I like Ali there.
Yeah.
because I think I just wrote about this. I think Ali ends up being the number 2 for the Ravens. I have no problem taking Ali in the 420 there, unless you want the pick, because I think Ali in a 14 team is probably going to be close to that 25 third if it ends up being late. So I think that's to me, that's pretty equal. But I'll probably lean Ali just because I really like Ali.
And I'm not even sure how Xavier Gibson's name got thrown in this trade whatsoever. He's pretty much useless, but whatever. Tim, what do you think about this trade?
I think you brought up a good point earlier that at first I didn't realize, but getting extra money in the fab because someone drops someone after the draft, like just doesn't fall in love with them. You're able to have the buying power that more people do, right? So like obviously people get dropped and there might be a guy you targeted or someone that fits in the right situation, or they might get cut and land in the right situation, right? So I don't know, it gives you that flexibility. I think the 420, having that over the, starting out with $1,400 on the fab, that probably brings you to any free agency, and that could be better than any of these guys. So I would take that end of the bargain.
This time of year when everybody has, like I said, 30, their roster's full with 30, 35 men, and you have 10 people on your IR, you have to clean out your rosters to no IR. There's no taxis in our league, so there's no taxi squads, but you may have 5 or 6 guys that are on, you might be over the roster limit to begin with. So you might have like 35 on your 30-man roster and then 10 guys on the IR. So all these people are going to get dropped. There's probably every team's going to drop probably 3 or 4 players, an average of 5 players from every team are going to get dropped, probably 50 free agents. A lot of them are going to be garbage, but somebody's going to drop somebody that's the apple of your eye, or that they couldn't hold on to, or just didn't have room for. And that'll be that fab will come in right now in the beginning of the season is the most important part for fab. During the season, everybody's going to go for $5, $10, $20. It's not a big deal. $1,000 fab, it's not that big of a deal. But all right, last one, Jalen Coker for Sky Moore and Stetson Bennett. Tim, go ahead.
I mean, I know this is going to sound terrible, so I guess maybe I would take Coker because you don't know. Isn't Bennett I'm not trying to be rude. Isn't he in rehab or something? I don't know what the hell.
He has been in they didn't really talk about it, but it was personal thing, and then they went and signed Jimmy Garoppolo. So it was he was the backup to Stafford. Now he's looking like he's the number 3. So that's a little iffy. Sky Moore is Sky Moore. Obviously, whoever made this deal likes Coker's upside. I think he's on the Panthers, right? Carolina Panthers rookie. So I think
thought he was in. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
I think that's where he's at, right? Am I totally wrong on that?
New England Patriots, I thought. He went to Holy Cross, right?
Yes.
He did go to Holy Cross.
On the Patriots. I mean, shit. I think you could be. I don't know. I think you take that. I mean, the thing with Sky Moore, and wow, I lost my headset. So Sky Moore, he could be. This is his 3rd year. It's make or break. He's either going to be doing something here and latch on, where he has an opportunity, or he's donezo.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why Jalen Coker's even being traded. This is kind of one of those trades that just I threw on a show sheet because.
No, he is on the Panthers. Jalen Coker is on the Panthers. I thought for sure he was. I know a couple guys that are real big fans of him. I think you're thinking Javon Baker. Jalen Coker, I know a couple people that are kind of high on him as far as moving up that depth chart, just because they don't love the depth chart there behind Deontay Johnson, Xavier Leggett, and Thielen. So I know some people think that Coker could end up being the number 4 and eventually take Thielen's spot. So my guess is it's somebody that didn't get him in the draft and then was like, oh, I wanted him, and then made the trade for him. So I can see if Coker's your guy, go get him. To me, that's a pretty even draft. Though, John, I think you missed one trade.
I was wrong. Sorry. I
think we skipped the 25-second for the 24, 304, and 306.
Where's that at? What number?
32.
32. Okay. Oh, I see it. 24, 304, and 306 for the 25 seconds. So early 3rd, mid 3rd for a 25 second. These are 14 teamers. So that second, I'm not sure what it's going to be. Somebody wants more picks, so they're probably, they trade down.
Yeah, somebody won a couple guys in the third, liked a couple guys in the third, so they had to give up a second next year, which I think is pretty par for the course. Typically, if you want a pick this year, you got to give up a first or earlier pick the next year. This person obviously got 2/3 for a 25, which I think is pretty even. To me, it depends on who's there at 304 and 306. But like I said, I like Ray Davis. If Javon Baker's there, like those type of guys, I'm probably making that move because I like both those guys for a chance to play this year. So to me, it would depend on who's there when that pick comes up. But if it's anywhere close to the guys I like, then I have no problem giving up that 25 second for 2/3 that I really like.
Let me ask you a question. Nick Script is very, very high in Greg Dulcich this year. I like Michael Mayer, but it's the air's kind of came on his balloon a little bit. Would you take Greg Dulcich or Michael Mayer this year if you had a chance on the tight end premium league? Now, looking at the Broncos,
I think Mayer has the better long-term career. I just think he's going to be more solid. He was a higher draft pick. Dulcich I like, but man, the injuries concern me, especially when a big guy like that who's using his speed has constant hamstring problems. That always scares me. I'm probably leaning Mayer there for me personally, even though I know people are scared off. I think you probably never get this deal done if Bowers doesn't get traded there because I think people would have taken Mayer over him. So I'm taking Mayer there for me over Dulcich.
Tim, Michael Mayer, Greg Dulcich.
Michael Mayer. I mean, we overthink everything. And we also got to realize it's like, I mean, I don't know if people watch like any baseball or any other sport. It's like it's multiple positions now. The NFL is no different. They don't. I don't believe they play the same position on table. They do, but they're not both CFOs. I told this to 50 people. Give me Michael Mayer all day. The dude was. We're talking about Bowers being dominant in college. Michael Mayer dominated dudes. Like physically has strong hands. The makeup can play all 3 downs. He did get a little banged up towards the end of the season. The only thing you have to be patient with Michael Mayer. And I would say this year he's going to be a little bit better, and then maybe next year he'll even be a lot better when they get the kid from the Longhorns as their quarterback, Quinn Ewers. That's what I think is going to happen to them. But I like Michael Mayer. I mean, dude, he's just 6'5", can play every down. He's a mismatch. They're going to put him out. Yeah, so I actually love it. I wish I could. This one league I can't get Michael Mayer in. That's the only thing that I'm bothered by. That's it. Okay, I'm taking my all day.
Just because Tim brought up Quinn Ewers, I'm going to shoot my shot right now for next year. Shadur Sanders is up on the Raiders. I think Shadur Sanders ends up being the Raiders QB. I think they're going to fall in love with him. Dion primetime, they want to be in Vegas. That's where they get all the limelight. I think Shadur Sanders is a Raider next year.
Is that good for the Raiders or bad for the Raiders?
I like Shadur Sanders. I think he's my QB1 now. I get a lot of heat from it from people because they're like, how is your QB1? I'm like, man, they're like, they were 4-8. I'm like, they were 1-11 the year before and the worst team in college football the year before. So the fact that they went 4-8 were actually in the mix in a lot of games with a terrible offensive line, I think says a whole lot. Obviously, he's got a lot to prove this year, as the whole Colorado team does. But I think he has much, much more talent around him this year. I think they're going to be much improved. I think the Big 12 is not even close to as tough as the Pac-10 was last year. I think Colorado is going to be the mix. I think Sanders is my QB1. A lot of people are talking about whether he's top 5 or even first rounder. I think he ends up being my QB1. I think he goes to the Raiders.
All right. So
am I rebuttal that or?
Yeah, go ahead. Jump in there. We got 2 minutes.
All right, 2 minutes. But here's the deal. I honestly, I wish they were playing South Dakota week 1 because South Dakota was undefeated last year for the FBS, right, and won the championship. They're going to play North Dakota, which is usually good, but they're not a powerhouse they used to be. Shit, if they're playing South Dakota, I think they definitely lose. I think it's going to be a close game week 1. I think Colorado's going to have a tough life. The other thing is,
I'm going to that game, so I hope they don't lose that because I'm flying out for that game. My niece goes to Colorado, so I was like, oh, North Dakota State. I was like, we'll do a opening game of the year.
Yeah, and don't look at the record. Like people are he didn't play defense and he didn't play offensive line. My only downfall is that dude is a little too pretty for me in the sense of this, not pretty in looks, pretty in that he instead of incomplete passes or incomplete, didn't want to mess up his completion rate. He took horrible sacks.
Yeah,
I mean,
he's absolutely
coming from a Bears fan, right? I'm saying Justin Fields took more sacks than any human on the earth, right? But Sanders would not throw an incomplete pass, but he could easily threw it out of bounds. And you know how Fields did it a lot?
Mm-hmm.
They'd run out of bounds instead of and get a sack or lose 5-6 yards. I didn't like that about Sanders. Is he going to be good? He's got some maturing to do. He's chirping at former players on the internet. It's like, and I know people don't care about that, but when you're a grown man and this is for a living, guys are fighting for their families. Like, we got to forget that prima donna bullshit does not work there. And Deion calling the shots there. I like Deion. I rooted for Colorado. They made me phenomenal money the first 3 weeks of the season. So shout out to Deion. Appreciate the paper. But you got to mature and you got to get a little bit more grimy. Get a little bit more grit, kid. Get a little bit more grit, and then the world's your oyster, they say in the streets.
All right, last one.
I agree with you.
Michael Mayer or Isaiah Likely?
Mayer for me over Likely. Even though I like Likely a lot, I got to go with the draft capital of Mayer.
Tim?
I'm going to go with Likely over, as I've been saying it. I like Likely right now because the quarterback position, I think I think he's starting a year from now. I think he's the starting tight end for the Ravens.
Mayer is the starting tight end for the Raiders. So
True.
There we go. Ready? Michael Mayer has been picked.
Can't go wrong.
There we go. All right. Thank you guys very much. We're at 2 hours now. This has been more than enough of a morning for most people. Anyway, JT, thanks for jumping on for these shows. Trade shows usually, generally speaking, last a little bit longer than most trades because there's so many tops to talk about. But where can everybody find you at, JT?
At JT Orange on the X Twitter. And just find all my stuff there. I usually retweet all my different shows, all my different articles, all that stuff. So find me there.
Timothy.
Yeah, just the Mouth podcast, which I am going to. I've been putting it on my schedule. I'm going to do one this weekend when I'm in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. But outside of that, I'd just be watching all your guys' content. Appreciate it. I'm excited for all these drafts coming up. Everyone, enjoy this summer. You only get so many summers, so I say maximize that. That's my words of positivity, and you guys enjoy.
Jackson Hole's awesome. Coming down from the mountains and going right in Jackson Hole, Wyoming is one of the best things on earth, man. I've been to 43 states, and Jackson Hole, Wyoming was one of my favorite places. So,
all
right.
I've never been there, so I appreciate that.
Have a good one, guys. Thank you for John McGlynn, 75 on X, Fantasy and Frames, Dynasty Evaluation, the Stew with JT Brew. Keep watching these shows. Keep joining in, guys. Thanks for joining in.